Um, I'll be super honest with you. I don't love failure. I really hate failure, and I have a anxiety when it comes to failure. That's why I tend to set safety nets to mitigate risks. So thank you so much, Chip, for the idea to have the tablet with me, because this is a safety net. So my anxiety level is a bit lower now. Cool. So I'm trying to see failure as part of the journey, not the scope. So I'm not sure how many of you remember the spring of 2020. Basically, the lockdown changed my plans and changed the plans of millions around me. So the projects that I have been working came to a stop, and that was good for me because I was in a very good position. And that allowed me to sit back and reflect on my failures and my achievements. So today, I want to share with you how each setback helped me to innovate and to evolve personally and professionally. So let's zip back to 2020. Through my first failure. So this is ILF Failure Tech Edition. So I'm a technical person. I'm a technical person that evolved or transformed towards a business person, but still at heart I'm a technical person. So I have a joke. My wife asks me, what do you do to relax in the weekend? And I say, I build up servers. So definitely, it's a thing that I have in my DNA. So it was 2010, and the economic crisis started to hit up Romania. And I was employed back then at a corporation, and my employer decided not to hire new positions to fulfill the jobs that they need to deliver, but they decided to basically distribute all the workload amongst existing team. So I was a Unix system administrator. Not sure how many of you knows what Unix system administrator means, but that's me. So just imagine like a Unix system administrator being asked to manage Windows Server. It's like a cat walking a dog. So it's a tragedy. For me, it was a tragedy back then. And of course, I said no. I was offended by that. And the manager that I had basically threatened me that he will take me to HR and consequences will happen. But as I always do, I had like a small safety net, so I was doing a bit of freelance by that time. So I told, 2010. So I told my manager that I'm gonna quit and get a job at McDonald's. So it was a bit rude. I mean, I should have been a bit more diplomatic, but little have I known that a couple of weeks later, the first opportunity will arise. So a friend of mine, like a childhood friend that we were building like neighborhood networks. I'm very old. He said that I'm a dinosaur. So I was building like local area networks. Not sure if you know what that means, but it's like pulling cables and yeah. So I've been doing that a lot. I've been sitting on top of the highest buildings in Bucharest and pulling out cables. But the idea that a friend of mine that I was doing that together came to me and he said that he started a business. He opened like a newspaper kiosk in Bucharest. So I said, well, congratulations, I'm working at McDonald's. But the idea is that he said that the guy he was buying the newspapers from, he wanted to build like a software. And I was the only guy he knew that I was doing IT. So basically, I met that guy, and that guy happened to be one of the largest newspaper distributors in Romania. So he had like, I don't know, close to 1,000 shops all around the country. He had warehouses, he had tens of tens, not the tens of thousands, so tens of like trucks distributing newspapers every day. So yeah, I got into the newspaper business. But I didn't knew nothing. I didn't knew nothing about like software development. I didn't knew nothing about product development, but I said yes. I said yes. I reached out to some friends, and like a week after meeting that guy, we went into a full immersion week with him, try to understand his business. I didn't know about jobs to be done. I didn't know about anything. I just went there and tried to find out as much as possible about his business. And then I went and tried to find out somebody that can actually deliver that. So in a couple of weeks, basically, in a couple of months, so not a couple of weeks, we've built like a fully fledged ERP, managing like the business, managing the warehouse, managing the cards, managing everything. And my business grew. We were like, I don't know, 35 people. I was recruiting developers on eJobs. Not sure if that's working now or not, but it was like, I was on top of the world. But I was on top of the world with some vulnerabilities. I had just a single customer. I was not thinking about business. So managing a business, it's totally different story than, I don't know, building a product or being a technical person or that. So I had just one single customer. And like 1 or 2 years later, the newspaper industry got in decline. So suddenly, I was about to be out of the business and out of luck. Basically, my one customer started to delay the payments. We started firing people. So it was kind of like a tragedy. So yeah, that was my second failure, the newspaper distribution software. Luckily, I managed to sell that business to our customer because it was part of, it was like a core part of his business, and I was smart enough, or by mistake, he was dumb enough not to take the IP. So in order to continue using that business, somebody advised me that I should sell it to sell it to him, so it was good. But as one things fail, then a new opportunity arises. So during the time that I was spending building the newspaper distribution software, one of the things that really got me super excited was the software that we built to manage servers at scale. So that customer had a few thousands of like Linux machines, servers, that we had to manage. So by that time, people were managing those servers like in a very manual fashion. Everyone was like putting names to those servers, like cute names, I'm connecting to that server, I'm connecting to that server. But we were treating those servers like kettles. So that opened a new door for us because like, I think it was around 2014, 15, 16, I don't remember for sure, but somewhere in the back in time, where like the Europe digital natives started to grow. Like in Romania, we had Trilulilu, not sure if you remember about Trilulilu, not sure if you remember Zonga. Actually, I was the one that I built the infrastructures for Trilulilu and for Zonga and for a lot of like companies that you might not know about them, but they were like very successful, very scalable. So definitely it was an opportunity for us. And 2015, I got into of course, so from a service, we saw that it's an opportunity to build a product. I was very keen into like building something that will scale and building a product. And 16, sorry, I'm very bad at dates, so 2016 we got into the first accelerator in, among, I think one of the first accelerators in Bucharest was MVP Academy. So I think you've been there or something like that, Chip, no? you've been in the jury or something like that. So I was in the first or the second cohort of the MVP Academy. So we said that we're gonna build like a hosting platform for Docker containers. And we managed to succeed. So like around 2016, so towards the end of 2006, so less than a year, we had 1,000 of active users. So it was like huge. It grew like really, really a lot. And it grew because it was a context. We were using a technology called Docker, and Docker started to grow a lot. And basically, our business was like a cloud hosting company for Docker containers. So it was super appealing, super hype, super whatever. And of course, I was on top of the world again until we failed to raise money. Because the business that we've built was not a software business, was a hosting business. And all the VCs that I was meeting with, they were asking me, where do you lease the servers? How much is the cost of a server? What temperature should run the servers? And I was asking them, we have 1,000 customers. We have a great user interface. You can start a Docker container just by doing that. And we build a container VM. So actually, we really build a very deep tech product behind that. I won't go into the technical details because I see that most of you are not so so geeky. But we really had a very interesting, interesting technology behind it. But then, of course, failing to raise money made me write this email. So that was actually the subject of the email, a very emotional email. All good things must come to an end. Telling all our customers that the product is gonna terminate. So we were like losing $2 for every, I think $2.7 to be honest, for every dollar that we were making. So definitely it was not something that we could sustain on a long term. So the startup was my third failure, but of course there's an opportunity. So this guy, who has a very similar name to mine, he's an Australian. He's a Romanian-born Australian, moved to Australia in the early age. And I met him randomly at a conference in China where I presented. That's totally random. So he came from Australia to China, and where I presented something. It was the Cloud Native conference, I think, the first edition in China. And I was presenting our product then, and basically he was working for a large enterprise in Australia, and he really liked our product, and he became our first and only enterprise customer. And when I sent that email, basically he told me that we're interested in buying your team, but the team was not that big. But I managed to convince him to buy technology, because at the end of the day, they were using the technology, and it took like it would have taken them a couple of years to build it. So of course, my third opportunity arose, and I packed my bags, went to Melbourne, signed the deal, and basically I created a structure with that guy to be the DevOps solution provider. We created a company there for Qantas. So Qantas was our customer, and that guy convinced them that we can create a company, and we can become their sort of solution provider for that kind of technology. And I had like super interesting plans with that guy. Basically, after we finished our mandate, I was planning to move to Australia, and we were planning to scale up the business there. But like 2019 or so, he decided to try his luck elsewhere. And the only way for me to continue the business in Australia was to move there. but to move alone. So I had like my first child, then it was not something that I was like super open to do that. So much for the OC dream. But then I was back home in the spring of 2020. It was really nice. We sold the company. I made some money, so I was not very relaxed, but decent enough to spend a couple of months of the pandemics back home. And, you know, that was a time that I took to reflect and to, to think about my failures and the outcomes from those failures. So I had an epiphany while doing that. Whenever I encountered failure in my professional career, basically I had the energy to get back. I had the financial resources, I had the mental resources, and I have the skills to do something new, to start again. I never paused, except for the pandemics, but I think I paused for like 2 weeks or so. But I never paused between a failure and an opportunity. I didn't saw any failure as a tragedy, but I just thought about that, okay, this is what happens now, and I should do something now, I should act now in order to change the outcome. So even though I was all in all my endeavors, I always saved money, I always spent time with my family, and I always invested in relationships. And these decisions helped me move forward. So I understand that I was I was not conscious about that, but I understood that I was always laying out safety nets in an unconscious way around me. And this is what kept me going. So of course, opportunity for came. So with the lessons learned from my previous failures and like understanding the risk appetite that companies have and the pressure on innovation, I rebuilt the company back here in Romania. And that safety net was, that epiphany was quite interesting to me because I realized that basically we are building safety nets, so like stable and robust infrastructures that help companies mitigate risks while innovating fast. So basically, all those failures turn out to be my greatest success until now. And as I mentioned you, see, I don't love failures. I really hate failures. But I think each failure, it's the beginning of a new opportunity. So if it's something that I want you all to, get from this is that failure, it's not the end. It opens new opportunities, and it's super important to build safety nets around that. Don't quit your job just because you are thinking that there's a great opportunity without having the safety net in case of failure that will help you continue further. So thank you so much.